So welcome to Vishnu IAS Academy. So I am Basavaraj. So I'll be interacting with you regarding geography or orientation session for UPSC Civil Service examination, more specifically with reference to geography. Right. Now, always as it is known that this UPSC is referred as a recruitment agency which makes the recruitments for civil services, and we refer that as civil service examination. And this civil service examination is in 3 stages. Now this is known to you. The first one is MCQs. We refer that as preliminary stage, where your knowledge is checked. The second stage is called as the mains examination, where your intellectual capacity is checked, and this is descriptive in the nature. And the third one is called as personality test. So in the personality test, your wisdom is checked. Wisdom is checked. And this is oral in the nature. So whatever is known to you, you have to express in this personality test. So in this process, they will check your knowledge, they will evaluate your intellectual capacity, and ultimately you have to prove your wisdom, which is referred as the 3-stage process of UPSC examination: prelims, mains, and oral. Now what this prelims consist of? This prelims consists of 2 papers. It consists of 2 papers, that is paper 1 and paper 2. Now paper 1 is referred as general studies and paper 2 is called as CSAT. Right. Now this CSAT is qualifying in nature. It is qualifying in the nature. So it means that whatever score you do in the CSAT does not adds to your merit point, but it is qualifying in the nature. Now here also you will find 100 questions. Sorry, here you will find each question, and each question will be having 2.5 marks. And for every wrong answer, there will be a deduction of the marks, and this will be 0.83 marks will be reduced if any wrong answer is there. Now to make your paper 1 to evaluate, you have to score a minimum of 66 marks here. Minimum 66 marks you have to score here. Even though the marks are not taken for the merit, but yet it is important for them to evaluate your paper 1, that is GS1. Now what this GS1 consists of? GS1 consists of all current affairs and knowledge is required. Now here you will find every question which is having 2 marks. Every question, if correct answer is there, you will fetch 2 marks. 100 questions will be there. And for every wrong answer, you will lose a percentage of marks here. And the percentage of marks when you are losing here is 33%, or say 0.66 marks. So you will be losing 0.66 marks for every wrong answer. So it is all calculated on what is your correct answer minus wrong answer. The total of this is used to calculate your merit. And this is how the merit is seen, based on the number of posts. Based on number of posts. So hence, paper 2 plays an important role, even though it does not carry the marks which adds to your merit. But paper 1 is very important, where your marks plays an important role to calculate your merit. So once you get the criteria, say around 1:13 or 14, based on the number of posts, then you will be eligible for the second round, which is called as the mains examination. Mains examination. Now what does the paper 1 consist of? Now the paper 1 consists of all the subjects: humanities, you will find geography, you will find SNT, everything you will be there. But as a part of geography, here the syllabus given is very simple. It says that India and world geography, physical, social, economic geography of India and the world. So this plays an important role in the prelims aspect of geography. Apart from that, linked with geography, we also have something called as environmental ecology, then biodiversity and climate change. So these all are part of ecology and environment linked to that of geography. So this also plays an important role. So these two sections are associated with geography part, the core geography and application part in the form of ecology and environment. Now there are some points which are included in other topics as well. There is no complete demarcation from one subject to another subject. Now what exactly is this India and world geography and what have to be studied here as a part of geography? Now as a physical geography, as a part of physical geography which has given in the syllabus, what is included here? In the physical geography, the first chapter or first unit is called as geomorphology. Geomorphology, that is study of the earth's landforms, the rocks, the soils, how the earth has been formed, theories like plate tectonic theory, theories like continental drift theory, earthquakes, volcanoes, erosional landforms, depositional landforms, how the structure has been formed. So entire thing we will read in the first section or first component called as geomorphology. Then once we complete geomorphology, then the second aspect is called as climatology. Now what has to be studied in climatology? Climatology talks about atmosphere. What exactly is the atmosphere? And in this we have to understand its composition and its structure, how the atmosphere is formed and what is its structure. And then fundamental elements of climatology, fundamental elements of climatology like temperature variation, pressure variation, winds, etc. So elements of climatology we will be reading. Then again, many concepts like pressure belts, and among the winds, jet streams, atmospheric phenomena like cyclones, anticyclones, thunderstorms, cloud burstings, all these we will read in the second aspect which is called as climatology. Then third one is oceanography. Oceanography. Now in oceanography we have to read or understand basics of oceans, then something called as UNCLOS, United Nations Convention of Law of Sea, then ocean currents, then tides, temperature of ocean, salinity of the ocean water, ocean resources, right? So all these topics we have to read in oceanography. So the physical geography talks about geomorphology, climatology and oceanography, which in turn linked with the three spheres of the earth: lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere. Lithosphere, atmosphere and hydrosphere, three spheres of the earth. And if you are good enough in all the three spheres, then the section which we call it as ecology and environment will become easy. So all the areas where the three spheres meet, we refer this as biosphere. Biosphere. And here we make an effort in studying living and non-living components. Living and non-living components of biosphere, we refer that as ecology, where we study biodiversity, global warming, climate change, all. So if you are good in all the three spheres, then the application of that will help you to understand and write good amount of questions in the biodiversity or ecology perspectives. right? So these are the three important aspects in physical geography. Now, once you have did with this physical geography, now the next portion is something which is called as Indian geography, which is called as Indian geography. Now, Indian geography also a part of physical geography. What we have to read here? The first one is about the geological evolution of Indian landform. Second, physiographic divisions of India and their significance, like northern plains, peninsular plateau, Himalayas, coastal areas, islands. So, physiographic divisions of India. Then after that, there is something called as the rivers, monsoon, etc. Precipitation patterns and all, we have to make an effort here. Then once we have done this, then there is a big topic called as agriculture section in geography, which talks about soil and soil formation, pedogenesis, soil and soil formation, irrigation, what type of irrigation facilities are there, PMKSY, Pradhan Mantri Krishi Sinchai Yojana, many schemes, agroclimatic regions, natural farming, organic farming, etc. So all these we have to make an assessment with reference to basic and current affairs, right? So once it is done, then we have to make assessment of mineral deposits in India. What are minerals and where we find them? Mineral deposits in India. And along with that, industries. What type of industries and where they are located? Mineral deposits and industries. Then there is something called as study of human population, and here we make an effort in understanding the demography as a part of the human geography, right? So demography means birth rates, death rates, policies, theories, right? So we will make an effort in understanding the attributes of demography here. Attributes of demography. And then we have to make an assessment of the settlements. What type of settlements are there? And apart from that, there are many topics which are referred as contemporary topics. Contemporary topics, which has to be studied with special reference to India. So these plays an important role in prelims as well as the mains. So the statement is very simple, but decoding of that is needed in the context of examination. So physical geography and Indian geography. Now Indian geography, when we read, we always make Indian geography as a regional approach. We read this as a regional approach. Then only many facts or many events will become crystal clear. So these have to be decoded and studied in a systematic way in prelims as well as mains perspective, right? So this is the syllabus which is given by UPSC. This is the syllabus which is given by VPSC. Perfect. So this is something called as the syllabus part, right? Now paper 2, which we call it as CSAT. Now CSAT consists of comprehension, English language, understanding, reading, interpersonal skills, communication skill, logical ability, decision making, mental ability, data interpretation, all these. Now remember that this paper you have to score at least 66 marks and above, and it is qualifying in the nature. So whatever you score here will not carry forwarded, but this is important for them to evaluate your paper 1. Now once you qualify for the mains, then there will be a mains examination. Now in the mains examination, always remember, there will be GS papers, and there is something called as optional papers. There will be paper 1 and paper 2 optional, which consist of 500 marks. And then there will be 4 GS studies: GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, plus there will be an essay paper. And there will always be a language paper which is qualifying in the nature. Right. So these papers and these papers. So whatever you have scored here, whatever the marks you have scored here is very much significant to decide your merit. And based on this, you will be selected for the third stage, which is called as personality test. Right. Now, what is included in this language paper and all? So in the language paper, the first paper, which is consisting of any language which you have selected from the 8th schedule of Constitution, the total marks will be 300. Again, it is qualifying in nature. The whatever marks you have scored will not be carry forwarded. Second one will be English. Again, it will be 300 marks, but for 3 hours. Now, these are qualifying in the nature. You have to qualify in this. Then only you will be eligible to get your marks of the remaining GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4, essay, as well as the optional part. Now, what included there? Essay is there, one part. Essay is 1. Then general studies 1, 250 marks. General studies 2, general studies 3, GS 4. 4 papers of GS. Then this is your optional. Now all these marks plays an important role to decide your merit list. Now what topics are there in GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4? Now GS1 consists of Indian heritage, culture, history and geography of India. The same syllabus, geography of world and geography of India. Then what else is there in GS with reference to geography? So we talk about something called as biodiversity. Again, it is linked with geography. Disaster management. Again, it is linked with geography. Right? Then if you combine all these things, there is a huge amount of weightage when it comes down to geography. Now, sometimes in social issues also we find certain aspects of geography is seen. So this is what the subject which are seen in GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4. Right. Now, if you take up the weightage of geography in every section, weightage of geography. Now in prelims, if you make an analysis of all the year questions, if you take all the previous year questions of prelims, that is MCQ, so you will find that at least 12 to 16 questions are asked directly from geography. And sometimes it may reach up to 18 or more than that. So 12 to 16 questions will be there from geography. Then linked with geography, there is something called as ecology and environment. So from ecology and environment, say around 15 to 20 questions are asked. If you are good in geography, you can write very good answers, or you can take correct choices when you are writing your prelims perspectives. So this is with reference to prelims in geography. Now coming down to the mains, if you see the mains part, in paper 1, paper 2 and paper 3. So combining all that, 110 to 150 marks you will find in geography. From geography, this is the weightage which you can expect. It can be in the form of disaster management, or it can be environmental concern, or it can be some portion where they overlap, because geography is referred as multidisciplinary. So we find many topics where we find overlapping of geographies there. You can't completely isolate geography from other subjects. Like if you are reading about energy resources, geography will be there. Like renewable energy resources, we talk about solar energy, geothermal energy, international thermonuclear energy reactor or experimental reactors. So all those data, all those concepts you will find in geography, which will help you in writing the mains. So we find there is a good amount of overlapping is there. Disaster management, earthquakes are there, volcanic activities are there, man-made disaster, natural disasters, droughts, floods. So all these events, droughts, floods, etc., they can be explained only when you are having the good command on the subject geography. The definitions and all depends on the understanding of geography. So hence, it plays an important role even in the context of the mains. Now, those who are taking geography as an option, so they will have an advantage of this as well as the mains perspectives here. Now, this is what we call it as the weightage of geography in the prelims examination as well as in the mains. Now, we'll try to see what type of questions are asked in the geography so that it becomes easy for you to evaluate the further course. Now, the mains questions, I'm not discussing the answers of that. Now, try to find out what way the questions are framed. Bring out the socio-economic effect of introduction of railways in different countries of the world. So, it is application based. If you are having a complete analysis of current affairs and basics, then you can write this question. It says that what are the economic benefits, industrial part, social part, urbanization, migration associated with railways which are introduced in other part. Now, the next question, it says that discuss the consequences of climate change on the food security in the tropical countries. Now, remember, India is a tropical country. Now, impact of climate change is like droughts are there, floods are there, cyclones are there, cloud burstings are there. So, all these events affect agricultural economy, and these agriculture economy are directly linked with the food security. So, it is application along with the basic concept plus current affairs, Now, next is something like this. Why is world today confronted with crisis of availability of and access to the fresh water resources? Now, regional geography or geography always talks about resources or development of resources. Anything which is economic benefit, we call it as resources. Maybe land resource, water resource, soil resource, forest resource. All these are very important for human survival. So hence, we always emphasize on resources and resource development. How the resources are developed, how the planning is done, how the financial arrangement is being done, what policies we are having. So all these are discussed in the context of resources of geography study, right? Questions will be there. Availability of access to the fresh water. So fresh water resources means rivers are there, lakes are there, ponds are there. So what they are having and what are the issues associated with them. Pollution is one such issue, encroachment is one such issue. So all those are to be studied here. Then comment on the resource potential. Comment on the resource potential of the long coastline of India and highlight the status of natural hazard preparedness in these. So long coastline of India, coastlines are associated with fishing activities, ports will be there, lot of economic activities, exports, imports, many industries also being set up there. So what potentials are there in the coastlines? That is one. Second, highlight the status of natural hazards. So natural hazards means cyclones, storms, tsunamis, and cyclones, tsunamis, etc. They make huge impact on the coastal communities in the form of coastal erosion, in the form of submergence, and in the form of the losses which can be seen when the large amount of water enters into the coastal regions here. Now, what is the preparedness is being done? Hazard preparedness. So, early warning system, mitigation system, adaptation systems. So all those should be discussed in very brief. What type of early warning systems are there? When there is a tsunami, what early warning system? When there is a cyclone, what type of early warning system? What is pre-disaster management? How we proceed in that? How that adaptation is done? How does the preparedness is done? Right? What policies are there? What is post-disaster management? How India's national disaster management policy is synced with Sendai framework? What the national disaster management guidelines say when you talk about the coastal regions. So all them in brief we have to write. Right. Then discuss the meaning of color coded weather warnings for cyclones. Now cyclones are considered as one of the important natural disasters which India is facing. Now cyclone means here they are talking about tropical cyclones. So this tropical cyclones when it is there. So ideally we say the tropical cyclone has a time life of ideally 7 to 10 days. It may exceed, but 7 to 10 days is the ideal life for the tropical cyclones. And in that phase, whatever impact it is there, the rainfall, the wind velocities, and whatever forecast which is done, 24 hours in advance, 48 hours in advance, rainfall associated with that. So they all are communicated with certain codes, color codes. And that is what they are asking about. What are the color codes and what that indicates as they are given by Indian Meteorological Department. Then it also says, question like, discuss the natural resource potential of Deccan Trap. So Deccan Trap means you have to remember that it is associated with this area. Basalt rock, volcanic activity. So minerals will be there, soils will be there, transport facilities will be there, crops will be there. So all those potential capacities we have to discuss. So when you are discussing about this, you have to understand what Deccan Trap, the resources are, what are the issues associated with them, why we are unable to use the resources very carefully, what are the drawbacks, what are the bottlenecks to use the resources very carefully. So we have to make assessment, not only reading, assessment, then only the answer will be complete here. Then when you talk about the prelims question, in the prelims questions you will find many questions like, consider the statement, the amount of dust particles in the atmosphere is more in the subtropical and temperate areas than in the equatorial and polar region. Then second statement says subtropical and temperate areas are very less dry winds. Now you may find certain questions which are taken from NCERT. Right. So reading NCERT and understanding it with the proper application is a challenging part. We can read NCERT, but understanding, applying that is something which is a major problem. Right. So here such questions will be there. The amount of dust particles in the atmosphere. Now when we read geography in detail, the geomorphology and the climatology, you will find that these areas are associated with something called as subtropical high pressure belt. And these are the areas where we find a large amount of deserts are there. And these are the areas where we find dry winds are there. And these dry winds bring the sediments there. So hence, we always find that the subtropical areas will always have large amount of dust particles, right? And they are always have more dry winds, not less, more dry winds will be there. So you should make an analysis and then bring into the statements there. So these areas, as deserts are there, as rainfall is less, as stable condition is there, so they will be having more dry winds rather than less dry winds. So hence, when you read them, you should be in a position to analyze and put them into the correct statements. Now here idea is not to give the answer. Idea is to understand what way of the questions are asked here. Now take one more question. With reference of the Coriolis force, which of the following statement is asked? Now, to answering such questions, you should know what is the concept of Coriolis force. What exactly is the Coriolis force? Then, after that, you have to understand its characteristics, how the Coriolis force works. Right. So, once you understand the characteristics, then application. How you will apply to that application. So, hence, if you are reading such questions, you have to understand these parts. It increases with the increase in the wind velocity. Now it talks about magnitude of the force. If the velocity is more, the deflection will be maximum. So Coriolis force is nothing but deflective force, pseudo force. If the velocity is more, then the deflection will also be more. Higher the velocity, higher will be the deflection, magnitude part, right? It is maximum at the poles and absent at the equator. So it is simple, sine value. Sine 0 is 0 at equator and sine 90, it is 1 at the pole. So hence it is maximum at the poles and absent at 0. And that is where, as it is 0 at the equator, the water from one hemisphere to another hemisphere crosses. The winds crosses from one area to another. So that's why the monsoon winds crosses equator and enter India in the form of southwest monsoons. So such types of application based questions can be asked, right? So remember these. Sometimes when you are reading, they may say that the Coriolis force affects only the velocity. It does not have to do anything. Sorry, it only have to make the deflection. It does not have to do anything with the velocity of the force. It does not increases the velocity nor decreases the velocity of moving object, but it only makes the deflection. Now, such statements are important when you are reading this rotation of the earth, rotation of an earth which creates the Coriolis force. So, some concepts are there which are very relevant. Now, again, see the statements. The thickness of troposphere at the equator is much greater as compared to the poles. At equator, heat is transported to great height by strong convection. Now, this is again from NCERT plus small amount of observation. Small amount of observation is required. Right? More heating, more expansion, more convection currents which push the gases to the higher side. Along with that, at the equator, the centrifugal force is also more, and the centrifugal force makes the air to spread, right? So all such concepts are required when you are answering even the prelims statements. Now take this question. The most important fishing grounds of the world are found in the regions where, now again this is associated with the concepts, which includes the statements here: warm and cold atmospheric current, warm and cold oceanic currents. Now many students will make a confusion and they will mark here. So this is associated with the warm and cold oceanic currents. Wherever they meet, they create an fog, advection fog, which plays an important role in the growth of phytoplanktons and zooplanktons, which attract the fish, and hence they become the best fishing grounds in the world. Right. Now, basics. Gandikota Canyon of South India was created by which one of the river? Now, this is very important, UNESCO's heritage site also, and this is created in or created by Pennar River. So, factual data will also be there. Facts will also be there. Now, if you see the question paper, it is a combination of factual data, combination of application, combination of current affairs are also seen here. Plus, it also consists of something which consists of the maps. Take an example of these questions. In the northern hemisphere, the longest day of the year normally occurs. Now again, this is climatology, which is based on the concept of rotation and revolution of the earth. Rotation and revolution of the earth. So concept, if you do well, then you can mark it very correctly, right? Then in the tropical zone, the western section of the oceans are warmer than the eastern section, and in the temperate zone, westerlies make the eastern section of the oceans warmer than question. So this is completely based on the concepts about the ocean currents, concept about something called as onshore winds, concept about offshore winds, and also about something called as upwelling water, downwelling water, etc. So if you are good enough in this, then you can answer the statement very correctly. Now, to answer all these, what is required as a strategy in the geography? What strategy you should keep in the geography? Now, the first strategy is that you should be good enough in your basics. Now, to have more command on the basics, you should be good enough in your NCERT. Now, which NCERTs you have to read? So, you can start reading NCERT of class 8th, 9th, 10th and make notes from these. Make notes from these. Read them 8th class book, 9th class book, 10th class book. Read them and make notes of this. And when you take class 11th and 12th, they themselves are referred as the notes. Now read them as much as possible. Every sentence is a notes here. Both 11th and 12th standard books are very important, like physical geography of the world, human geography, Indian geography. So all these books are referred as notes only. Now don't make notes from this. Every statement is a notes. So whatever you are reading, combine that with this perspective. So basics should be good in the context of your geography. Now, second thing is, in geography, you should be good enough in the maps. Map reading plays an important role. So every year, around 3 to 5 questions in your prelims will be there from the maps. Map reading, cartography plays an important role. Now, this map can be world map and it also be the Indian map. And you should be good enough in both the part, that is political as well as physical map. Political and physical. So you should be good enough in both, like mountains, lakes, which area, which mountain is there, which river is there, then countries, the boundaries which are there, right? And this map also plays an important role in your international relations, where they will talk about places in the news. Places in the news or events in the news. Events in the news, like some areas where the forest fires are there. So they will give the name, which event, which place and which particular context it is being there. So maps plays an important role. Maps plays an important role not only in your geography but even in the IR. Then facts are very significant. You should be good in the facts. Now these facts, the static part you can take from NCERT plus other facts you can take it from relevant sources, or we say authenticated sources or authenticated resources, like government publication PIB, or the data which is given by ISRO, or the data which is given by different ministry, etc. So you have to accumulate static facts and also the data which are given, and generally we call it as the data from current affairs. Current affairs, right? Plus in this, when you are accumulating the facts, huge weightage is there for reports. So you have to take large amount of the reports and you have to summarize that, you have to reduce that, you have to make the points from those reports. And these reports are given by many national and international institutions. National and international institutions or organization, like IPCC, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, in India, ministries and different institutions. So these reports also plays an important role. So you will be having basics, maps, and then facts. These three things you have kept in your hand. Now once you are having these basics, maps and facts, now next you have to summarize that and you have to develop a concept. Develop a concept. And once you are good in the concept, then you have to move on to the application part. Application part. Now, in the context of application, you have to depend on newspapers, explanations, which are given by institution and the faculties during the classes. Third, magazines. Like we are having something called as Down to Earth magazine, Geography and You magazines. So these, they take up one particular topic and they explain that, and that explanation is very much important to write the application part, right? So whatever concept is there, you have to be good enough in applying that as a part of application process. And this plays an important role not only in your prelims but also in the context of mains. So facts, maps, then static portion, basics, combining with concept, application. All these when you organize, then it is sufficient for you to crack the UPSC examination, and that too with reference to general studies. Now, the major challenging aspect is organizing all this. You may read it in isolation. The major challenging is organizing this. How you organize that? And this organization or this organizing of that is associated with something called as, you are mapping them, what we call it as mind mapping, or you are creating a flow chart. Then you have to create something called as diagrams, right? So when you organize them, mind mapping is done, flow chart is done, diagrams are there, then you will have everything which is called as concise, which you can utilize in a very short period of time. So this is what the preparation has to be done in a simple way. So everybody says smart work, everybody say that you have to do in a honest way. So smart work depends on your perspective, how you take it for the preparation. So this is all about the exam. Now here in Vishnu Academy, in this academy, when we take up the classes, we call it as an integrated approach. So in the integrated approach, we take the consideration of both prelims as well as mains. Prelims and mains, both are combined here. So it is not in the isolation. Concepts are done, facts are done, event is taken, application is done, everything is added to that. So integrated approach is done where a faculty or I'll be concentrating or we will be concentrating in all the part. We will take up the basics and static part from NCERT, plus we will explain that. Explanation is done on the basis of current affairs, on the basis of the higher thing which is required for that, maybe from relevant resources. Explanation is done. Plus application part is also being explained here. How you can apply that. Application is also being done. So this all will help to make a proper way to organize your subject. So everything is consolidated. So we say here we provide consolidation, right? and support materials are also given. So whatever contained things are given, hard copies will be given, soft copies will be given, regular tests will be there, assessment will be done, so that whatever you are missing, whatever is being missed will be taken care in this part. So this is how the study is being done in this institution, right? So this is all about the geography, what weightage it is having, what is there in the prelims, what is there in the mains, and how to make an approach towards the subject for general studies. I'm not discussed about the optional. As a general studies, what should be your strategy and how you have to make a progress to have more effective reading and effective understanding and score marks in prelims as well as the mains. So with this, I end up my session. Thank you and take care.